everyone, and welcome to another installment of TED Excellence, the show in which we find out how furniture determines our fates. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday. What the fuck, Wednesday? Yes, for the record, as I speak, there is a massive breach, storming of the castle of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. by protesters against the, certification of Joe Biden's presidential win. But we're not going to talk about that. I'm sure we'll talk about that plenty tonight. But just as a note for the historical record, if it matters, that is going on. So rather than dwell on that and the madness going on there, I thought I would, on with the show, as they say, and deliver some structured madness, hopefully a distraction for those of you that need one, either now or in the future. And who is joining me for this distraction, such as it is? That one servant of Satania, hello. Merle Davis, hello. Hayden Lott, hello. Black Belt for Christ, hello. Debate Fly, hello. Raziel, hello. Zalba, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Tux Mint, hello. Some Namdom Nation, hello. Check Your Logic, hello. Dina B, hello. Tia Fiorix, hello. And then chat jumped because, of course, it did. Let me get back up to where that was a second ago. Zeke Weiss, hello. Zan Wild, hello. Swirl Blue, hello. Lissa Leo, hello. Seen your comments lately. Thank you, Lissa. Functional, hello. Mike R, hello. Sorry, guys, I'm scanning through as quick as I can. Roger Reynolds, hello. Green Death, hello. Thank you, Bacall, the Driving Ape Man, for the nervous smiley face. Yeah, I'm a little set off by what's going on, but hey, we'll shove forward. Jonathan Peterson, hello. Puddock, hello. Robert Pincus, hello. Brittany Holland, hello. His Kitten, hello. Buddy C Buddy, hello. And Quinn the Cultist, hello. All right, so what are we doing to distract ourselves today? Well, that being the case, when having a seat at the table is not enough. When having a seat at the table is not enough. I can imagine several sort of scenarios of what this talk might be about, but, like usual, we'll find out together. Yes, as Dina B says, please please smash the like button. I'm putting smash and like into one word together. Also, something that I always mean to say by the end of these streams, but I always forget to. If you do share the stream on Twitter, most especially, please be sure to tag me in your tweet so that I know that you did so I can thank you personally, because I really do appreciate that, you guys go to the effort of that for me. So I appreciate that. All right, well, now that I'm a little bit discombobulated by current events and everything else, let's get into it. This is a relatively short TEDx at only 9 minutes and 17 seconds, at least as far as I've clipped the majority of it. So we're going to find out why a seat at the table is not enough. I'll start out with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
I love stories.
I do too. I was an English major. Technically still am, so stories are part of my sort of makeup. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. I know you said we're not going to focus on the Senate protests, but apparently there might be shots fired. Yes, I am aware of the apparently maybes and everything else going on. I am trying to put it out of my mind for the moment, and we'll come back to that madness shortly. But as a note, all those people are insane. I hope nobody gets hurt on either side of the equation, but what a time to be alive, right? Anyway, you guys hear all that? Sounds good, says Dina. Sounds good, says Zeke. Sounds good, says Aspie Auntie. All right. Well, then, let's let's continue.
Ever since I was little, I remember curling up next to my mother and listening to her tell me stories.
Oh, by the way, I totally forgot. The bingo card for today is bingo card C, as in cat. Totally slipped my mind, because just as he says that, That is a childhood or family anecdote. So we get to circle that one up on the board real quick. Free space and childhood or family anecdote. There it is. All right. So we are 2 squares on the board. And we're not 10 seconds in. Moving on.
And it didn't matter what they were about. Horror, drama, romance. It could be about a tomato, and I'd love it all.
Your mother read you horror stories as a child before bed? Okay. I mean, to each their own, I guess.
Stories impacted me in immeasurable ways.
Yes.
And I knew I wasn't the only one.
Okay.
So it was no surprise, as I got older, I became a storyteller myself.
Okay.
Of the Hollywood variety.
Oh, Hollywood variety. Okay. And?
I became a screenwriter in television and film.
Oh.
I actually remember my very first day on the job. I woke up super early, made a big breakfast, made coffee and orange juice, drank them at the same time.
You made oranges? You have superpowers.
Would not recommend that. I saw it on the commercial once. Got to the lot and finally arrived at the production office.
Okay.
On the side of the building was this amazing marquee of the name of the show.
Okay.
And then someone approached me.
Uh-huh.
Samir, let me take you to your office.
Okay. All right, sounds great. I'm sure there's another shoe is about to drop.
I followed them down a long hallway until I got to a door. And I saw my name on a small marquee.
Okay.
It was a dream come true.
Great.
I had finally made it.
Yay.
The clock struck 10, and we all went into the coveted writer's room. I walked in, and before me, I saw all the amazing, brilliant minds I'd be working with.
Okay, all the amazing, brilliant minds. Got it. Thank you, Pecoraro, the Driving Ape Man. It was probably scary stories to tell in the dark. That's true. That's true. I mean, those were still creepy stories. Like the one with the spider eggs and the face thing. Ugh. I remember that one. That was ugh. Anyway.
These writers worked on some of the shows that I grew up on.
Okay.
And here I was, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. But I looked around again. And I realized that I was the only one in that room that looked like me.
You see, I had hope for a second there. I specifically paused on the whole brilliant minds in the room. You know, creativity, something separate from the physical for the most part, something of merit, something of personal value and worth. Okay, well, you got into the room and you had a problem with the color of other people's skin. All right, well, tell me more.
In fact, I was the only person of color.
I totally believe you. Thank you, Lisa Leo. Love the content. Been binging your videos. I've seen that. I've seen your comments on some oldies but goodies. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm glad that people find my my archive worth looking at. Because before all the TEDx stuff started with the lockdown and the pandemic, I've got quite the library, if I do say so myself. Let me just brush a little dirt off my shoulder. Anyway. Okay, so you were the only person of color in the room. You had your own office, you had a production studio, you had a job and everything else. Okay, so you have a problem with the skin colors of the people in the room, the people whose great minds entertained you for years on shows you loved. So what does it matter?
I remember my second job. Kind of the same thing. Woke up early, smaller breakfast this time.
Whoa. Wait. Hold on. What happened with the first job? So your very first job as a screenwriter, you go there, you have your own office, you get into the writer's room, too many white people. Now we're at your second job. I mean, unless you had like 2 jobs at the same day or something. Okay.
Got to the lot, got to my office, 10 o'clock, got into the writer's room, looked around.
Yes, because visuals and aesthetics are very important to you for some reason.
I was the only person of color.
Well, gosh, honestly, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I don't know. How are you going to fix this problem? What happened? Your first job, that was the major problem. You didn't list anything else that happened in your first job. So the biggest problem you had in your first job was there were too many white people around you. Okay. And now in your second job, the first problem you list off is there's too many white people around you. You're not setting yourself up for a shining example here.
This started becoming a running theme in my career for the next 15 years.
A running theme in your career. Your career so far sounds like you got your dream job and you kept getting jobs. You had your own office. You had people addressing you by name and giving you your office and everything else. A theme of your career. Shouldn't your career be, I don't know, the work that you've done? Or the shows you got on? No, this is the theme. Okay. This is your story.
And I started to wonder, was I being hired for my skill set, or was I simply an insurance policy?
Okay, I'm backing up slightly. That is a good question. All right, that is a legitimate question, because that is the end result of what we see with these diversity and inclusion programs. When you start focusing on filling out your team or your workforce based on aesthetics, based on window dressing for the most part, in order to, fill out some quota or indemnify yourself from accusations of various isms, this is the risk you run. Now, I don't know what his situation is. I don't know why he was hired or anything else. Maybe he'll tell us. But that is one of the problems. Same thing with like affirmative action. Are you here because of your merit? Were you given this opportunity because you earned it? Or is there something about you that is irrelevant to your personal merit, but that makes you a primary candidate for this opportunity for, bragging rights, for aesthetics' sake, for legal liability insurance kind of thing? We have a diversity inclusion program. Our company isn't racist or sexist or homophobic or anything. So he has a legitimate concern here. Now, I don't know, because here's the thing. His first concern was there wasn't enough people that looked like him in the room. So I'm not giving this guy a halo, but his concern is legitimate.
Was I being hired because I was uplifting the narrative? Or was I simply a spokesperson for my community?
Okay. Collectivize his own demographic. Circling that one real quick. Even if he was doing it, in the abstract or accusing somebody else, my community. Lexi's here. Oh, well, I guess I can start now. Okay. So I'm starting at 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Was I there for my amazing, unique background and my take on hot issues, or was I simply a token?
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think the writers in that room in your first job were there just because of their skin color, or because of their great minds that you admired for the shows that they did? I mean, do you value actual talent ahead of skin color? Because that seemed to be the running theme, the running concern in your mind before you got to the point of wondering if you were the token. I'm just curious. I mean, this doesn't make anybody an angel, And like I say, your concern is a legitimate one. But you're the one who walked into the room and first noticed that there were too many white people there, setting aside why they might be there otherwise, which you mentioned by their great minds. But anyway.
Hollywood has a diversity problem.
Okay. And how do you propose to solve it? Because if tokenism, if filling out the quota isn't a good thing, which you have articulated and which I agree with, how do you propose to solve the diversity problem? Let's go to the bingo card real quick and review. Marginalize marginalization. Not yet, but we might get there. Let's see. We already circled collectivize his own demographic, leaves out vital context. What happened with that first job? Was that it? Like, that was your biggest problem with your first job? Was that there were so many white people in the room? I mean, you weren't treated differently? Were your ideas like dismissed or something? Were you not given equal footing in the room? You didn't say so. So I'm not quite sure what your complaint is, other than you were uncomfortable with the skin color of others. So I'm circling leaves out vital context because I'm not quite sure. And that might also be weightless example. I'm not sure yet. Feminism, no. Microaggressions, unconscious bias, not yet. Anecdote that probably never happened. I don't disbelieve his anecdote so far. Contradicts own point or argument. He hasn't made it yet. Diversity and inclusion. Yep, he just said diversity problem, so we'll circle that one. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. Not yet. Plays victim. I know he basically has already filled that one out. I'm going to let it go a little longer, but I'm pretty sure we'll circle that one for sure. Word salad, not yet. Mind reading assumes motives. Well, he's asking the question. Okay, we'll see if he comes up with an answer. I don't want to say that he's assumed motives yet, because maybe he has information or something that actually answers the question that he's posed. So I'm going to hold on that one. Benevolent condescension, not yet. A list, not yet. Patriarchy, no. Wage gap, no. Systemic institutional, not yet. Privilege, not yet. Self-vilification or wretchedness, no. Equity, no. Weightless example, maybe. I'm going to hold a bit on that one. Make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. Yeah, I'm going to go back to that first anecdote. He walked in the room, noticed everybody wasn't looking like him, and the point of that was what? Exactly. Anyway, and then white supremacy. He hasn't said it. We'll see what he says. Mr. Tickletrunk, thank you so much. A hearty hello to you, Senior Scribbles. Thank you, Mr. Tickletrunk. Appreciate it. Okay, so far we have circled. Collectivize his own demographic, leaves out vital context, diversity and inclusion, free space, childhood or family anecdote, and make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason. All right, moving on.
And this is nothing new. We've heard it all before. In fact, Hollywood has made amazing inroads to try to affect change. We've seen this with major studios and networks creating diversity campaigns. We've seen it with talent of color finally getting the respect that they deserve. We've seen it with shows who never see the light of day finally getting production orders.
Yes, but okay. But are all those people and all of those shows getting jobs and or greenlit because they're good, or because they involve a demographic that they're trying to tokenize as you yourself are concerned about? I mean, are you going to come back around to that notion?
And things are truly uplifting.
Well, why isn't your story uplifting then? Why are you suspicious?
Something to be proud of. But as things are getting better in front of the camera, when it comes to behind the camera, it tends to be an entirely different story.
Okay. So things are changing, but not the way that you want. So, okay. Again, how do you know that these projects, these actors, and so on and so forth are not in the exact same position that you suspect you are in based on a diversity and inclusion thing? I mean, you can't have it both ways, all right? Either a diversity and inclusion initiative is good, full stop, or it promotes the idea of putting aesthetics over personal merit. You've said that you may be a victim of the latter. So why are you praising the same thing in the opposite? Very confused. Might be contradicts own point or argument here. We'll give him a few more minutes.
Color of Change, a civil rights organization, did a study analyzing over 200 shows. The results were abysmal.
Oh.
Out of those 200 shows,
yeah,
only 13% of writers were folks of color.
13%? So they reflected the population demographics of the United States? Proportional to... Okay.
When it came to film, it was even worse. It dropped down to 10%.
All right. So, all right. I'll believe you just for the sake of argument. I mean, I won't dispute your numbers. What is your offered solution?
Now, I'm not a mathematician, but let's run some numbers.
Okay. You're not a mathematician, but let's run some numbers.
So on average, and this is generally speaking, a writer's room has about 10 people, give or take.
Okay.
So 13% of 10 is 1.3. Can't do much with 0.3, so we're left with 1.
Uh-huh.
1 person of color on average for a writer's room.
Okay, so your solution to this problem would be?
Now, when I heard the data match my own personal experience, it hit me. It struck me.
Confirmation bias, you mean? Oh.
I started to wonder, does Hollywood actually care about change, or does it simply care about the perception of change?
Well, golly gee whiz, I think you might have landed upon an idea there. It is perception. It's Hollywood. It's a business. They are catering to a market. They also have a whole lot of ideological things going on, both now and in the last several years. Okay, so I guess my ultimate question for this talk, if he ever gets to it, is he for or against diversity and inclusion initiatives that elevate appearance over merit? That's my question. Is he coming to some kind of revelation here, or what? Because on the one hand, he's praising the quote unquote progress being made, but if that progress is only present because of an underlying mechanism of discrimination, like I say, can't have it both ways. So I'll be curious to see where he goes with it. Thank you, Dark Resurrect. Accurate representation, though. Well, can't talk about accurate representation here. That's obviously not enough. As we know from the title, having a seat at the table is not enough. Okay, so is it an appearance attempt? Yes, it is. It's a PR move for the most part. It's virtue signaling. Are you about to go against the grain on this one?
You know, the strange thing is that diversity kind of has a shelf life. It's that stale bag of bread in your bottom cupboard drawer. We think about it as something that we can fix immediately, but truly it's not an injection. It's a seed that you need to grow.
Okay, so again, you feel like you were a token hired only for appearance's sake. And that is the end result of diversity and inclusion initiatives, valuing non-determinative factors about someone over personal merit. So you are against that philosophy, right?
I talk about this a lot, but I think that when we see diversity, we look at it as a for-cause paradigm, meaning that you're going to do it and it's fantastic and you're doing the right thing altruistically, but at the same time, where is the sustainability? Where is the longevity of truly, truly believing that this is something that can go on and it's something that is not reactionary?
Word salad. He completely just drifted off into no man's land there. I have no idea what he's talking about now. He was almost to a point. He was almost to maybe a conclusion or something. Well, not a conclusion necessarily of the talk, but at least a conclusion of, he brings up, was this all done for appearance's sake? Well, why don't we stick with that for a second instead of talking about how we can make it last long? Like, you want the process that promotes appearance over worth to last longer by planting seeds? I mean, contradicts own point or argument. I'm circling that one as well. He was onto something there for a second, and then he just went off into la la land. And he still hasn't reconciled praising the results of diversity and inclusion and yet damning his own experience from what he suspects is diversity and inclusion. Okay. Oh, wrong window. Whoops. Wrong window. Come on.
So, of course, this didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
And I had to go to my colleagues to ask the hard questions.
Oh.
How do we fix this problem?
Well, wait. What is the problem? You have to articulate the problem. You praised it on the one hand, you condemn it on the other. Okay, if the problem is this is all being done for show, what's the solution? Because that seemed to be your complaint. This is all being done for show. It's being tokenized. Okay, so is that the problem that we're trying to solve? What is the problem? Because you've gone all over the place.
And I heard everything from, well, Samir, you have to get in line. You have to wait in line just like everyone else.
Wait in line for what? You got the job. You had your name on an office. You were in the writer's room for at least 2 jobs. What? I feel like I've missed 5 minutes of this talk or something. I don't know where he is right now.
And I turned to them and said, I've been waiting for 15 years. Look at the grays in my beard.
You got the job. You had an office. The person came up to you out of the blue, knew your name, and took you to your office. What are you waiting for? What are you talking about? What?
I can't wait much longer. I heard things from, well, you know what? Your people, there's not much a market for them.
Your people, there's not much of a market for... Really? Someone said that to you? In Hollywood? Well, okay. Okay.
My people. There's 1 billion of us.
You just collectivized yourself with your community. You just did that before. Are you now not doing that?
I call that a pretty big market. And sometimes I just wouldn't hear anything at all.
Where is this guy going? What is he asking for? What problem is he attempting to solve here? Chat, have I missed something? Have I really missed something here? I mean, honestly, I feel like there are threads of a thesis here, but they're just all over the place. Okay, you know what? Anecdote that probably never happened. I'm sorry. This guy's giving me no reason to trust him at this point because he's going everywhere and nowhere at the same time. I'm circling that one. We'll go to the other squares shortly. I want to see if he comes back to, like I said, he was just on the verge of something when he said, is Hollywood just doing this for appearance's sake? And it's not just Hollywood. The whole diversity and inclusion theology is really done as a way to insulate companies and organizations from accusations of wrongdoing. Even if those organizations and companies never did anything wrong, you want to get out ahead of that kind of stuff in this climate. So you virtue signal the best that you can with a diversity and inclusion program to not only, try to bring in more people and raise your profile PR-wise, but also, like I say, create a little insurance against litigation in the future, accusations of wrongdoing. And he was just there. He was right at that point to start thinking about and talking about the possibilities of what that means, not only for him, but also for the stuff that he already praised as happening as a result of diversity and inclusion. And then he goes off into waiting in line for something. Where does he want to go? What is he not being allowed to do?
I knew at that moment I had to think differently.
Like Apple?
As good as it was to have a seat at the table, it simply was not enough.
Okay, well, you need to tell us what is your goal and what's preventing you from getting there. Because so far, you got your dream job, and then you got a second job, and you had your name on an office, and
representation could only matter so much.
You are representative of no one but yourself. You are not an entire demographic. You are not an aspect of a monolith. So are you accepting the notion that you are only in the writer's room to represent your demographic? Is that it? Because so far you haven't told us that your ideas in the writer's room were ignored. Or your ideas in the writer's room were stolen by somebody else or something like that. So far, all you've said is that you were uncomfortable around a bunch of people who were white. and then you were wanting to get somewhere that people said you had to wait in line for. I don't know what that means.
I had to change the game.
Okay.
I had to break that table.
Oh, you had to break the table. How?
I had to break the room.
How?
3 years ago, I took part in an experiment. I thought to myself, what would it look like if I were able to create a writer's room outside of the studio system?
What would it look like? I can only imagine how you constructed such a thing and on what basis you brought people into the writer's room.
Centered on community voices, by the community, for the community. And it coincided in a very dark period of American history.
The community. What community?
3 years ago was also the beginning of the Muslim ban.
Then why was Saudi Arabia not on the list? Now, go ahead, tell me. Why was Saudi Arabia not on the list of countries restricted from travel? I'll wait. I know I've been waiting forever, but if it was a Muslim ban, why was Saudi Arabia not on the list of countries on the restricted list? You tell me. Are you not going to? Okay.
As a Muslim American myself, knowing that families were being separated, knowing that people who had called America their home, their whole entire life, could not come back, it was like a punch to the gut.
Uh-huh.
I knew as a storyteller, I had to say something, and the only way I knew how.
So you told a story like it was a Muslim ban?
So I partnered up with 2 organizations, Pop Culture Collab and Muslim Arc, to incubate the very first Break the Room.
And what exactly constitutes breaking the room again?
A writer's room process where it would be centered on merging voices in tandem with community organizers and thought leaders.
Oh, organizers and thought leaders. Okay.
Now, because I was doing everything against the grain, I knew I had to find my writers in a different way as well. Couldn't go to Hollywood, so we found the next best thing. We went to Twitter.
The next best thing to Hollywood is Twitter. Really? Okay, sure. The next best thing to Hollywood is Twitter. Okie dokie.
And I put up a crude flyer, I mocked up, and before I knew it, that tweet went viral. Asian Twitter, Black Twitter, Muslim Twitter, everyone was pushing it, and I was asking for writers to come help me.
What? Oh, now you're dividing all the Twitters up by race or religion? Huh. That's an interesting way to put it. Thank you, Pecoraro, the Driving Ape Man. Breathe. Yeah, and I'm trying. Oh, I'm trying. Okay.
In a couple of days, I had over 100 submissions.
Wow.
And I read through them all and whittled it down to 4 writers who happen to be amazing, brilliant women of color.
Okay, so let's pause for a second, as I just have. Our speaker's complaint at the top of this presentation was his wondering, was he in the writer's room as a token? His wondering whether or not the diversity and inclusion initiatives in Hollywood were just for show. And on the occasion where he's going to tell us about the results of his first pass experiment at creating a broken room, what does he tell us about the people that made his list? And by the way, I will be circling a list momentarily. That they were female and women of color. He didn't use their names. He didn't list off any potential prior experience that might have commended them to these positions or to this selection. No. He listed off aesthetics. He listed off non-determinative factors of them as people. Just, window dressing. Now, maybe in the next breath, he will start telling us their names and everything else. But the first thing he wanted us to know about his selections were things that say nothing about their ability. Just wanted to note that. Okay, I'm circling a list on the board. Moving on.
After that, we have to do the writing. We're only funded for 5 days.
Okay.
And that's when I started shaking in my boots.
Oh.
Here I am, a television writer with 15 years of experience, now doing kind of community nonprofit work. Would I be able to really, really, really put my money where my mouth was?
Well, what were you hoping to get out of this? I mean, you got you included. You have 5 people in a room writing what? Are you just like writing a spec script or something? Or what was the purpose of this? How does their gender or their skin color determine that somehow this writer's room is going to be of a higher quality inherently than the Hollywood writer's room? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Hollywood writers' rooms are somehow better or elite or something or can't be replaced by anybody else. I'm just wondering what his criteria was to select these 4 people. He hasn't told us. He hasn't told us what commended these 4 women to his selection. Save that apparently they're all women and they're all not white.
I was blown out of the water. In those short 5 days, we were able to write 4 out of 6 episodes of our short form series.
What series? What did you do? Why can't you name the show? What? Okay, you wrote 4 episodes. I could write 4 episodes of a short form series. Is it any good? I mean, okay.
We met 2 more weekends to finish the entirety of the series.
I thought you could only afford 5 days. Okay.
After we were done, I was truly proud. This was something to be proud of, and this was an amazing piece of content.
And so it got produced?
So I thought, let's shop it around.
Okay.
And we did.
Yeah.
And it landed on the desk of Paul Feig, who greenlit it immediately.
Paul Feig, director of the 2016 Ghostbusters, handed a series spec scripts written specifically by non-white women of color. Yeah, I think Paul Feig would probably go for that just on that basis alone. Do you think, did he select it because of its quality? You haven't told us what you've done. You haven't told us anything about the people you selected or any merits that they possessed that commended them to those selections. Why are you enacting the exact same thing you worried was happening to you in the writer's room? Don't you see that? Come on, man. Doing my best Joe Biden impression right there.
2 months from then, we went into production.
Uh-huh.
And then from there, we hit the film festival circuit.
What was it? Can you at least give us the name of the thing? Have I heard of it before?
We premiered our trailer at Sundance. We got into South by Southwest in competition.
Okay.
And just recently, we won Urban Film Festival.
What won? What is it?
Now, after we were done, we just couldn't stop there. I knew I was onto something.
What?
We had to break more rooms.
But you didn't break a room. You didn't. You put out a call for amateur screenwriters, and you made a writer's room, and you produced a product, you shopped it around, and you didn't break any. Hollywood's still there. Did you not go back to Hollywood for your job, or do you not work for Hollywood anymore? You created your own room, and you did your own thing, and you created your own output, and you put it out there, and you got it shopped around. Good for you. You didn't break anything. What are you talking? You put yourself right into the exact same process and the exact same industry you were already working for. What?
and we decided to scale the process.
Oh.
We did rooms all around the country. We did a room in Albuquerque centered on Native American voices. We did a room in Portland centered on the refugee experience. We had our very first sale with Dwayne Johnson's company around a Polynesian story, where we hired all Hawaiian writers.
So again, your complaint going into this was you're being given a job under the suspicion that your race was the only deciding factor. You're wondering if you were only there for show. You're concerned that diversity and inclusion programs are only for appearance's sake. And so you proceed to initiate a program that creates product filtered by race and or ethnicity. Also, you hired people into the room filtered by their race and or ethnicity. And you call this breaking the room. You're contributing to the segregation. You're contributing to the discrimination. You haven't done anything that you haven't implicitly accused Hollywood of doing. I'm baffled you don't see that. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk. The hateful break things, the moral fix things. Yeah, his solution to the idea that a writer's room might be tokenized or there might be some kind of racially discriminatory aspect to it is to make writers groups that are explicitly discriminatory. That's his solution. Okay.
In our short run of 1 year, we were able to hire over 50 underrepresented writers and writers of color.
Okay, well, underrepresented is basically a synonym for marginalized marginalization, so I'm going to circle that one. Thank you, this is Kyle. Not only did he do exactly what Hollywood did, but he even went to a Hollywood guy who's known for caring about race and sex over quality. Got it. Yeah, I mean, of all the people that greenlit it, Paul Feig is a real reliable source on that kind of thing. But either way, the fundamental fact is he's not improving the situation. He's just adding to the divisiveness.
We're able to incubate 12 projects all across the country. And some of our writers have moved on to work for shows on Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, Disney+.
Were those writers' rooms populated with the kind of skin colors that you approve of that they ended up at? Are you sure that they weren't hired on the same belief that you had of your own position just for show? Are you proud of this now? Have you solved the problem?
BET, and they're doing amazing, great things using the methodology of Break the Room.
The methodology of Break the Room. Nothing of what you described was any different than any writer's room. You got a bunch of people together. You came up with a story. You came out with a spec script or scripts for a series. You shopped it around. You did the exact same process that anyone else can do in this world. You didn't break anything. There's nothing innovative about that. What are you talking about?
Now into our second year, we're just building more. We're growing our rooms. We're in fact doing international rooms as well. But the kernel is still there. It's the community spirit. The community spirit. So who possesses community spirit? And how do you tell if they possess community spirit? The people in the writer's room of your first job and your second job, they didn't have community spirit? What distinguished them from people who have community spirit? What are you talking about? What do you do when you want to tell your story? You got to build your own table. Were you prevented from telling, quote unquote, your own story in the first two jobs you had? Because you never said that you were. Your only complaint was the number of white people in the room.
You never said you were prevented from telling your own story. You said something about waiting in line, but you never told us what that meant. What were you talking about? Waiting in line for what? Waiting in line to do a story about your community? Well, it sounds like you did that by just doing it, and nobody stopped you. Paul Feig, a white man of all people, ushered you through the process, greenlit your project. This guy is making absolutely no sense.
So as much as I love diversity and inclusion, as much as I love representation, I love equity and justice a lot more.
Equity. Well, golly gee whiz, equity. Circling that on the board.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Okay, so our speaker seems to be absolutely, totally oblivious to what he just said, and painting it with some kind of shiny virtue that it doesn't possess, even in his own analysis of his own experience. Okay, going back to the bingo card. Feminism, no. Microaggressions, unconscious bias. I would say that the conversation he had with that executive where the guy said, you know, there's not a market for your people, I'd call that a microaggression. So let me update that. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. Breaking the room. Breaking the room. Certainly that counts as a new buzzword, buzz phrase. Thank you, Zan Wild. I kind of want to throw up on this guy. No. I'm just, like I said, okay, well, I'll go through the card and we'll get to it. Okay. Plays victim. Do you guys think he played the victim throughout this? Do you think he set up a victim narrative just a little bit for himself? Oh, I think so. And as a consequence of that...
Bingo. What? Of course!
Well, there's our first bingo. I don't know if we'll get a second one, but you never know. Let's continue. Mind reading assumes motives. Well, he assumed the motives of the Hollywood writers' room, and somehow his idea was different than that, breaking the room. So I'll go for that one. Benevolent condescension. I don't think he ever got to the point of, you know, saying people needed a helping hand. Well, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm sure there's an argument there. I'm going to leave that one blank. I'll leave that for you guys to argue one way or the other for me. Patriarchy. No, I know he brought up the fact that all of his selections were women of color. And of course, he's a man selecting them, so maybe his benevolent patriarchy there. Wage gap, he never talked about pay. Systemic institutional. Well, Hollywood is certainly an institution. And he brought that up plenty of times, so I'll circle that one. Let's see. Privilege. No, he never said that. Self-vilification or wretchedness. You could make the argument that he was being tokenized. Him saying he was being tokenized counts, but in the aggregate of this, he was not. That was more him being the victim. That was not him being somehow flawed. So I can't say he was self-vilifying or wretcheding himself. Weightless example. Yeah, the whole writer's room thing. He never brought up any complaint about his treatment. I mean, he suspected he was there as a token, but he never told us his ideas were rejected or he wasn't given equal time in the room or anything. So I don't even know what those were meant to express, except that his own paranoia about skin color but it didn't say anything about him being disallowed an opportunity or a voice at the table or anything. So with that, well,
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
all right, we got our double bingo. And lastly, white supremacy. He never... I know he talked about all the white people and everything, but since that would give us another bingo all by itself, and he never actually said the phrase, I'm hesitant to circle it. And the white supremacy is a very very serious term to use. And I know, he talked about demographics and everything, but I'm going to leave that blank for the moment. Okay, so there are several squares on the board that could give us other bingos. The only one that I see that I might see an argument for is benevolent condescension. Everything else, I would need a real good argument. So I will go to the chat now. If you guys have any arguments for squares not yet circled, let me know, and then we will wrap this up. Within the hour probably. I will. Let's see. Mr. Tickletrunk, white supremacy ideology does cover the whole talk with a thin layer. R.I.P. bingo. I need something more than just a general abstract if I'm going to circle one that's going to get us a bingo. Puddock. This isn't an argument, but in case you were wondering what else he worked on, IMDb tells me he wrote for half a season of Modern Family and 2 seasons of the Comedy Central show Mind of Mencia. Okay. There you go. Some emulation. He implied that Hollywood was ran as a white supremacy. I know there was a lot of implication there, but like I say, I'm hesitant. I could see a better argument somewhere in there for benevolent condescension, but white supremacy is a very, very specific thing to both say and or suggest. I mean, white supremacy is an ideology too. It's an ideology, not just a statement itself. So if we have to get down to him saying something implicitly, I would have had to have heard him say something that was on an ideological basis. And he was just talking surface level stuff. So unless you've got an argument for me on that score, I'm hesitant. Mr. E, if he did imply that, he's not just wrong, he's 180 degrees from correct. Well, there's a lot of things that he was not wrong. He came so close, though, to a real point about the end result of diversity and inclusion programs. And then he goes on to create his own diversity and inclusion program and doesn't see the irony in that. It's wow. Just wowie wow wow. Right, Dog Cat Fox? Wowie wow wow. I know, right? Check your logic. Is tonight's Lords of the Night going to be a rare stream when the ongoing news will be talked about for an hour and a half? I guess it depends on what's going on at the time in the Capitol and so on. We'll definitely be talking about it tonight. So, I don't know what's going on right now. I hope it gets resolved quickly and safely and nobody gets hurt, but I don't know. Zanwild, no market for your people as white supremacy or anecdote that never happened. We already circled anecdote that never happened. Again, white supremacy. Like I say, I'm really hesitant to circle it because we never really got to that point. It never felt like it to me. And to do it for a bingo, I'll need a really good argument. Okay, Kieverdam tells us a militia member was gunned down by the feds. Great. Oh, man. Okay. Well, okay. I'm not seeing any arguments for benevolent condescension. There's one in there, guys. But honestly, my my energy level to continue right now, given what's going on, and me wanting to know what's going on in the world, has kind of diluted my my focus for the moment. I apologize for that. That's just sort of the way the cookie crumbles and the timing of human events, as it were. But regardless, we got a double bingo out of this one, which is honestly more than I expected for such a short TEDx talk. So I think we'll take that for what it's worth. But I say but a lot, don't I? But all the buts in the world. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this one. I really do appreciate it, especially given the circumstances of the real world right now. For those of you listening in the future, you don't have to worry about this, but yeah, it's an eventful day, and it'll be a more eventful day as things go on. In that vein, if you'd like to hear more from me or Satsu 2 Cents or the Ranting Monkey, you can find all three of us tonight on the Ranting Monkeys channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for The Lords of the Night, where we will talk about the news of the day, most especially news stories that you submit, what we've been up to on the internet, and then your questions and comments. Everyone, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you so much for your participation and your argumentation. And for those of you that donated, thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Everyone, please, especially on this particular day, I hope you are all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.